Hey guys, Evil Slothman here. Right, I have decided for today I'm going to do a slant and change and go back to something that I haven't done in a while, which is a wrestling blog video. So anybody that's not interested, start paying attention. I will weave you on. Yes. But right, so anyone that doesn't know, I have been like the biggest professional wrestling fan since about 1992, and my favourite wrestler ever was Bret the Hitman Hart. So you can see where the slant's going. So I'm going to discuss both Raw and Impact from last night. I did watch both. I have to be honest and say that I didn't actually watch or hear much of the Raw one. I had them on two different streams, which I was watching side by side, and had the sound on Impact for most of it. Unless Bret showed up, or what else was there? There was some other bit, I think. I can't remember exactly, but I remember watching most of it. So I could basically talk to you about what my thoughts and impressions of how that went, because it was a big night for wrestling last night, and this is going to be massively full of spoilers. So before I go any further, anybody that hasn't watched it either and wants to be surprised by some of these things, especially with TNA, I would turn the video off now, go and watch, then come back. Have you done that? Yes? No? Do it! Right. First we'll discuss Raw. Raw was, well, from what I saw, it was an alright show. Bret definitely made it better. Cut a pretty decent promo to begin with. I did think the hug at the end of Shawn Michaels was kind of forced. It didn't look entirely great, but saying that, it's been years of animosity and it was never going to be the easiest of things to come back into, but yeah, it's quite surreal to watch Bret back on WWE TV. I still to this day, it's been years and I still always start switching into WWF, and I don't know, it's something that I can't even stop myself doing. Rest of it looked pretty good. One thing I really hated was that DX with Triple H was talking with Hornswoggle, and the blatant advertising. Yay, we've got new action figures. Look, here's one, and here's one. Buy with money. And just treating Hornswoggle like an idiot. It's like, I know they're trying to go for a PG audience, but there's like condescending and then smart stuff for kids that can easily enjoy it. There's like some of my favourite books were stuff that had, as a child, were ones that had very involving plots and didn't insult your intelligence. Didn't have to be condescended like this. Now I know when I started watching wrestling it was very similar. I started watching 92 and you had stuff like Donkey the Clown, Skinner, Repo Man, and all these like over the top characters, and some of them, well, for being like 7-8 years old, it was fine because I was that and I could see why, but even then they weren't as like overtly condescending as they are now, and that's a bit annoying, especially the bit when he was getting Hornswoggle to come with a dog. He was like, here boy, it's like, oh, it was just like, no, Triple H, no. But really didn't like that bit. Apart from that, there was some pretty strong bits in it. I'm still not buying Sheamus as the champion. I used to watch him on the wrestling channel. I had that Sheamus O'Shaughnessy, and it was like everyone was chanting SOS, SOS. And to see him as world champion is just a bit weird. I have to admit, it's very, very weird. I still don't think they're really pushing him that well either. I did find it very strange for how big a night it was for wrestling overall, with Bret coming back, that John Cena was not on the show at all. I know he was off doing the Fiesta Bowl and everything, but that seemed a bit weird, especially for that week. A week where they probably, even if TNA weren't on, they would have had their bigger audience because there was no American football on that night. So I found that a bit weird too. Evan Bourne just seems to be like the Raw's bitch at the moment. It seems to just be like, oh yeah, we'll put him on. He's like the jobber for everyone at the moment. My God, he was so pushed in ECW. He was so good, and they've just absolutely wasted him, bringing him to Raw from the draft. I do like The Miz. The Miz is still one of the best bits about Raw, and I loved his little promo before he came out when he was coming down. He was talking to Maurice and everything, and I still like that he's US champ. Though I still think that the division, as with the Intercontinental title, are both mostly underwhelmed compared to how they were maybe 10 years ago. 1999, you knew exactly who the Intercontinental Champion is and the US Champion. And they're just not pushed in the feuds, like the main feuds, like one-on-one feuds that they really did about 10 years ago. And I think that's a shame, because you really need these feuds to build yourself up. So The Rock wouldn't have been anything without his Intercontinental title feud. Neither would have Triple H. Austin, maybe hit or miss. He wasn't exactly a great Intercontinental champion. It was more what he did after he gave up the belt that really pushed him, and the feud with Brett before he even became Intercontinental champion. But a lot of these stars became really big because they'd learnt their craft and their skills of how to push a good, decent title feud as Intercontinental champion. I think that's been a lost skill. Right, we better switch this over to Impact. Oh, I'll say before the end, the Vince Low Blow thing, interesting, and you definitely know that Brett's going to be back. And I think if you know, even in the backstage thing, that he has signed like a 4-month contract that's probably going to lead to a WrestleMania match between Vince and Brett, and that will be pretty interesting. Okay, on to Impact. Impact started with a clusterfuck. What the hell was that? The Steel Asylum. I've never liked the match. Especially that one, because you couldn't see anything. The cage, the way they got the camera, usually when they do lockdown, they have it straight up into one of the gaps in the cage, and you can see everything. And for a few seconds you could, but they zoomed out for most of the match, so they get everyone in. And you just could, because the bars were so close together, you just couldn't see nothing. It was pointless. And then have a DQ to start off. This is like one of the biggest nights for TNA ever, and they started off with that clusterfuck. Plus Homicide couldn't get out of the bloody cage, which was insulting as enough as it was. Unless he wasn't meant to. Which, in that case, Jeff Hardy fucked it up as well. And yes, we'll get onto that. Jeff Hardy signed with TNA and then got arrested today. Well, he got charged today, so we'll see how long that lasts. But it was definitely a surprise. Nobody expected Jeff to actually show up on Impact, so especially with his old music, which I kind of like. That was interesting. Him, Shannon Moore turning up as well, which we kind of knew. And that was pretty decent. The women's title match, it was alright. It wasn't anything spectacular. I don't think ODB can really count a spectacular match. Tara did the best she could. I do think she needs better competition. I think you got Roxy, you've got Taylor Wilde, you've got Hamada, you've got Awesome Kong. There is a lot of decent talent on there that could be pushed up to decent feuds of Tara if they actually got off the finger out their arse and actually started to work that. Then they had a load of adverts. Well, they had the women's tag match, which was actually quite decent, with Hamada and Awesome Kong winning. That was a quite decent match. But it wasn't the best match. And then they had 20 minutes of adverts. Now, it's just like it went from one bit back to the Impact Zone. You saw like maybe Scott Hall and X-Pac show up. Then it was back to another advert. And this literally went on for 20 minutes. It was like 20 minutes of padding. And that pissed me off. Something fucking rotten. But I hope they don't do that when they actually play it in the UK. But because they'll never put this on till like Thursday night on Bravo or Friday night. No, Saturday night on Bravo. I am mistaken. But then Hogan comes out. Hogan cuts this whole promo. Then they have X-Pac and Nash and Hall in the ring, and it looks like a massive NWO thing, which is then enforced when Eric Bischoff comes out. and they're all going off about how it has to be earned and how everyone's spots have to be earned. And I hope that they brought that in for some notoriety with the end of it, and then he casts them off, because you really shouldn't have all these people in there. It's just like Hall is well past his prime, as is Nash, as is X-Pac. They just should be there to push some people up. Basically, after that, there was a few decent matches, but you have to get to the end. I have to go quick. I'm just looking up there. It's like 30 seconds left. But we get all the way to the end. Jeff cuts a promo. Hogan says he's worth nothing. You get in there and then have the best match of the night, which is AJ Styles versus Kurt Angle, and that is just awesome match. Seriously, if you want to watch anything from that New Impact, watch that. That was an awesome match. And then Mick Foley gets beat up by Hall, Nash, and everything at the end, which was just confusing. You don't know which side Hogan's on. But it was interesting, intriguing. You want to see what happened next. Okay, that's my thoughts.